In this video, I'm going to give a brief summary overview of real estate law and different things that you need to be aware of on the legal side. Now, I'm not a licensed attorney, so this is just informational only. You need to consult attorneys as well as local laws in your area to learn more about how the legal side works in your region. So in my case, I have different state laws than you probably have. So again, not all of this is going to hold true. So that's why we're going to keep this short. I'm just going to try to cover some of the basics, and it's up to you to do some more research on real estate laws that are more local to you and how it works in your area. So starting off, the first thing you want to make sure you learn really well are the different landlord-tenant laws. So your tenants have certain rights as tenants that you need to respect as the landlord. So make sure that you're not breaching any of these rights, because this could open you up to some legal troubles down the road, whether it's lawsuits or, getting even criminal charges brought against you by the police. So make sure you understand a tenant's rights and that you can respect those as a landlord. Also understand on your side what landlord rights are so that you can make sure when those are being breached, you can take action and take the legal proper action against your tenant so you don't get in trouble for, doing something incorrectly. So understanding landlord-tenant rights is key to making sure you have a smooth sailing operation as a rental or a landlord owning rental properties. Some examples, just to give you some basics, with tenants. Typically, you have to give them some sort of notice that you're going to be showing up to the property, because again, they are leasing this property, so they technically own the property, but it's not actual ownership. It's just, it's their property that they're leasing from you, so they have the right to know that you're coming to the property. You can't just show up and unlock and come inside the property. There's got to be some sort of announcement ahead of time in most cases. Otherwise, they could, get you for trespassing or some sort of legal action there for not giving them a heads up that you're coming into their property. Now, another thing to consider is the trash on the outside of the property. A lot of local ordinances, like your city government, they're going to set rules about not having, certain trash piling up on a property. They want properties to be mowed. They want properties to be maintained, kept clean and neat. So you want to make sure this is outlined in your lease, that it's your tenant's responsibility to abide by these rules, because if the county or the city government would come by and give a ticket, and charge a fine to the property for not having the grass mowed to the right height, you want to make sure you have this outlined that this is going to be the tenant's fault and they're going to be the one responsible for paying these fines. Now, you being the property owner, you're probably going to have to go down to the city and handle that fine yourself, but you can somehow bill it back to the tenant to make sure that the tenant's ultimately held responsible. So again, make sure that you talk with an attorney about the legal ways of handling that situation, that your tenant follows the local ownership ordinances of owning a home, making sure the property's mowed and kept clean. Now, as the landlord, if you notice your tenant's not mowing the property, then you may need to stop by with a mower and have it done yourself, and then you can bill your tenant probably for that fee. Same if you had to hire a mowing company to come out and mow it to get it done so that you don't get a fine from the city. Well, then you can go out there and take action on the property, get it mowed, and then bill your tenant for the services of having the property mowed. So again, these are just understanding tenant-landlord rights, understanding local city government ordinances and laws your government has to make sure your tenant and you as the landlord are following these ordinances so that you don't accrue fines on the property. Any liens against the property, you want to make sure you're taking care of as well. So again, having something in the lease that talks about if the tenant causes any liens to be placed on the property, how that can get handled legally so that you ultimately don't get screwed out of your property because of your tenant's fault. So for example, if the tenant stops paying, different utility bills, or if they would stop paying a contractor for some work they hired done to the property, that sort of thing. There could be different liens placed against the property by those different government agencies or contractors. Now, in most cases with repairs, it's the landlord's responsibility to hire and have the repairs done. That way the tenant doesn't have, a crappy, contractor come in and do a crappy job. So I usually like to keep that control in the landlord's control so you can make sure that it got paid, that the contractor got paid so there's no liens put on the property, and you can make sure you're holding that contractor accountable on quality of work rather than giving the tenant that responsibility. I've had it before where my tenant hired in his own drywall people to fix holes in the walls that they made trying to restore the property back to how it was when they moved in. And their drywall guy did an absolute terrible job, to the point that I had to go redo most of it. So again, that taught me, don't give responsibility to the tenant. If they cause damage to the property, let them know that you're gonna hire the contractors to come in and fix that damage for them, and you'll bill them later for it. All right, another type of laws that you want to get familiar with are the fair housing laws. So when you run a rental property business, you want to make sure that you're screening tenants legally. You're not discriminating against tenants that violates any of the fair housing laws. So again, these are usually federal laws where they will apply pretty much to every state, every city, the exact same. Now locally, you may find some more specific fair housing laws that apply locally, but federal fair housing laws, you can't discriminate against people based on their race, their religion, and there's other factors as well that you can't discriminate against them. You typically have to make a decision on a tenant based on things like, do they make enough income that they can qualify to pay the rent I'm charging? Do they have a good enough credit score that I feel that they're going to make their payments on time? And then do they have good references that say they're a good quality tenant that doesn't cause damage to the property or, skips rent payments, things like that. So you got to keep it pretty basic. You can't go off of how they look, how their family status is, how their sexual orientation is, their religion, their race. You got to keep it more to the income, credit score. How are they as a tenant in the past with other landlords? So understand federal fair housing laws as well will be important to making sure you stay safe on the legal side of things.